In this tutorial, we're going to look at how to set up the navigation menu to maximize student learning and minimize frustration for students and their parents. I'm going to start off this tutorial in the student view just so you can see what my students would see right now. And as you can see here on my page, there are a lot of choices over here in this left navigation menu for the students to see. And it may get confusing for them when they are trying to find their assignments. So I'm going to leave student view, and we're going to take a look at how to minimize what they see over here on the left hand side. So I'm going to come down to the very bottom button on the left, settings, and I'm going to click on that. And at the top you're going to notice there's some different tabs. I'm going to click the navigation tab. And now this menu here is going to let me decide what my students can see and what they can't see. So everything down here at the bottom are things that my students can't see, and everything up here at the top is what they can see. So most of these things the students don't need to see to access the materials in my course. One of the things that is a benefit of creating in modules is that if all of their material is in the module, then the only button that they ever need to access to get to those items is the module button. They don't need the assignments button or the quizzes button or the pages button. If they can get to modules, then they can get to everything in the modules. So I have set up my course that way, and I'm going to start customizing this menu. There are two ways. One is to click on the three-dot menu and click disable, or the other, which I prefer, is to just drag items down. So I'm going to just start dragging everything down, and they don't need any of these things. You can always come back in if you want to set up a collaboration one day. You can drag it up that day and then hide it again when you're done. That way they won't get confused when you're not using it. And as you can see, I'm dragging down quizzes and files and pages and people. All we need to keep here is this modules button. If you're using this for grades, you can leave the grades tab open. If you're not, if you're using a regular grading system like Skyward or one of those other types, Texas, and you want them to look at their grades in that other system, then you could actually hide this. They still will be able to see their grade for each assignment. And the other thing I'm going to leave up here, I'm going to leave home so they can always go back to home. And I'm going to leave announcements because announcements don't go into the modules, they're separate. So if you hide announcements, they won't be able to see those. So I'm going to leave home, announcements, and modules. Those are the only three things I'm going to leave. And then I'm going to save. Make sure to save. I have done this a lot of times and forgotten to save, and then you have to start over. If you ever wanted to come in one day and say use Flipgrid, you can pull Flipgrid up and save it, and they'll be able to see it, and then when you're done you can pull it back down. So don't worry about hiding too many things. You can always pull up other things that you need them to see on a case-by-case basis. So now I'm going to go back to home, and notice that most of these items have a little crossed out eye. That means that students cannot see them, but you as the teacher can see them. And notice that announcements has one of those, even though we didn't hide it. That's because we don't have any announcements set up yet. So the students won't see it until there's actually an announcement there. So now I'm going to go back to student view and just let you take a look at the difference. So now my students only have one choice to go to the modules, or they can use my buttons to go to the modules. So now they can come in and see all the modules, which we have set up as locked until a certain time. And then they can go back home as needed. So this makes it much less confusing for parents and for students, and I think that it will really minimize frustration if you set up your navigation menu to help out your students.